So I was scrolling through YouTube, looking at some games and stuff like that, and trying to get some information on, some other games. And I'm looking at this MMO, and I'm scrolling through the comments, and I see this comment right here. Now it says, basically what you're saying is it's a 2-year-old MMO game from China that someone decided, let's try and make some money with a global release, because why not? Which explains the aggressive pay-to-win shop, because that was in style 2 years ago. Okay, so this is talking about pretty much obviously what you're seeing here, a game that was brought over from China that released a while ago and now just got released here. You may be able to figure out the pieces if you are aware of what games got released here lately, but it's not about the game. So that's why I'm not even saying it. But nonetheless, I saw a response within this comment section, and it said this: how do you pay to win in PVE? How about you actually know what you're talking about before commenting nonsense? Dude, I see this comment, this argument so often, and it blows my mind every time I see it, because people cannot comprehend, for some reason, that PvE games can be P to win. P to win. That's pay to win. As I say one or the other, P2W or pay to win. so these games can be pay to win. PvE doesn't matter if it's PvE or PvP. These MMO games can be each and other whatever. Does not matter. And I'm going to explain to you the thought process that goes behind these people and why they think this and why they got some issues going on there, and as to why they're thinking this. And I'm going to explain to you some examples as to how PVE can be PTW. I said that's right, pay to, because it could be a T or a 2, pay to win. So pay to or pay 2, like number 2. Anyways, yeah, so let's hop in here and drop all these bombs. That way we can finally make sure that all this is cleared up and this will never happen again, even though it will, because we know people don't listen and people just like complaining. But first, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps out tremendously. Thank you very much. So let me first break down how these people are. So pretty much this whole thing and why there are some people who just constantly think this, that if it's a PvE game, player versus environment, then it can't be pay to win. This is pretty much, I'm going to break this down from a psychological standpoint. This is what is going on with these individuals. Pretty much people who say this live their whole lives around confrontation. Because to them, the only way that they can prove themselves or add value to their lives is by conflict with others. Let that sink in. This is why they lean so heavily on the PvP and cannot understand the PvE concept, and it being pay to win. There being pay to win elements in a PvE concept, or people being real aggressive about gearing or so with it being PvE, because in their mind they have to do everything around conflict. There has to always be some sort of competition in their head. That's how their brain works. There has to always be some sort of competition, because they cannot find inner peace within themselves. Their worth to themselves is only worth as much as an outward energy gives to them. So what I'm saying is that their worth has to be proven by something else. They don't know, they can't find their own worth within themselves or what they're doing. So it has to be justified from outside sources. Pretty much. That's what's going on here. That's why, and look, sorry if I just called you out, but look, I just keep on the 100. I tell you how it is. That's what's going on here. That's the issue. That's why you're always trying to find conflict. That's why you're always so obsessed with PvP. Because you have to find that conflict to try to justify yourself, to try to add value to yourself. That's that. But at any rate, let's dive in here for some examples. Now that we got through that, some examples on what exactly are some ways that PTW, I want to say P or T or 2, that pay to win can impact player versus environment. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm just gonna go down like a little list here. First and foremost is premium gear or items, right? So players can purchase powerful equipment, weapons or whatever, or items that have significantly stronger, abilities or whatnot than those obtainable through gameplay. These items may have unique stats or abilities that make content easier to clear. So that's pay to win. You're obviously getting an advantage there, right? There's boosted progression, which plays right into that. Boosted progression. This is pay to win. You're progressing quicker than these other players. You know what I'm saying? Which obviously, if you're progressing quicker, that puts you in an advanced playing field where you can now have access to these other things quicker than these other people can. So now you have a jump on everything. That's okay. There's exclusive content access, right? Sometimes certain dungeons, raids, or story content may be locked behind paywalls, giving paying players access to rewards or progression paths unavailable to others. So is that enough for you? That's not enough. We can keep going. Enhanced consumables. Sometimes there's potions or buffs or other consumables that provide significant in-game advantages. Or they might add a daily bonus onto what you can get or whatnot. These things are very much pay-to-win mechanics in the PVE that heavily impact the playing experience of those who will not be paying. And those who are paying gives them a heavy advantage across the board. Now they can access things quicker, which allows them to progress quicker, which allows them to maybe control markets, all the above. There's very strong pay-to-win elements. Lots. We can keep going. We're not done. We can keep going. There's also pay-to-skip mechanics. Sometimes they have the skip mechanics within games where you can just completely skip stuff. That adds another layer there, which other people will have to go through that stuff, which will obviously give you an advantage. Okay? There's premium classes or abilities. Sometimes they have abilities that are locked behind pay to win, or classes that are locked behind pay to win. Or sometimes they have classes where, you have to use certain currencies to unlock the classes, right? And so if you're pay to win, if you're paying, then you can unlock those classes quicker, which gives you an advantage because now you have access to more classes. Now you have access to more classes, which means you're able to do more things because you have multiple different classes. Okay? And because you have multiple different classes, you have access to multiple different materials or options or farming options, which then allows you to potentially have progress, enhanced know-how or ability to control or manipulate any type of markets or anything of the sort like that. Are we done? Well, we can keep going. We can keep going. There's inventory or storage upgrades sometimes in pay to wins, which obviously impact very heavily because you don't have as much inventory, which can obviously give you a huge boost because you have more inventory slots or storage slots, so you can carry more. Perhaps you can go on a farming session, farm a lot more stuff for a longer period of time, which then gives you control over markets, or it gives you more materials that you can make this item of, or so and so and so. There's many different ways a game can be paid to win. That's PvE. Many different ways, and this can impact the people who are not paying. If it's aggressive in this manner, especially, then yeah, you kind of sucks us up, right? You just kind of have to get by it. But obviously, these people who are paying to win are going to be much more in a better position, as you can see here as I go through this list. Well, are we done yet? No, we can keep going. There's reduced cooldown or timers. I kind of mentioned this before with the progression, but playing to reset dungeon or raid lockouts, crafting items or other cooldowns lets players farm rewards more frequently than non-players, than non-paying players. That's I think that's pretty substantial. That's a pretty substantial way for a game to be pay to win in a player versus environment game. Doesn't have to always be about conflict, bro. Doesn't have to always be about conflict. Yeah, need to get right with that. You want to keep going? We keep going. There's premium currency for in-game benefits. Okay. The premium currency purchasable with real money can be used to buy powerful items, buffs, or services. Such as NPC, merchandise, or whatever that make PvE content easier. It makes PvE content easier. And considering the game is a PvE game, or even if it's a PvE game that has PvP elements, either way, we're focusing on the PvE, right? So even still, it makes the PvE content easier. So the game is a PvE game, which means that this is going to give you access to all these things that all these other players need in order to, upgrade or enhance their character, or if there's a market or this or that, right? That gives a huge advantage. That gives a huge boost. That's pay to win. That's entirely pay to win. And then there's, of course, subscription-only perks. Subscriptions offer exclusive bonuses like increased drop rates, faster resource gathering, or access to better crafting recipes. And this can create a gap between paying and non-paying players. Dude, this list can go on for ages and ages and ages. I don't understand why people. Well, I do understand. I just explained to you all at the very top of this segment right here. But I don't understand why people always try to make this argument that these PVE games cannot be pay to win. You know what I'm saying? How do you pay to win in PVE? How about you actually know what you're talking about before commenting nonsense? Bro, I'm just letting y'all know right now. All y'all who are saying this stuff, this type of stuff, y'all sound really silly coming from someone who actually knows and understands what's going on here. A lot of times, a lot of us people who know what's going on here are the type of people who are like, okay, we see stuff and we're not bothered by it, so it's like whatever. So we see you saying this stuff and we're just like, bruh, we know better than to even try to explain to this individual, because if they're thinking like this, then they're probably the type who's very hard-headed in the first place, and they don't really retain information, or they cannot learn, pretty much. So just being upfront, just keeping it real, and that's why it's just not worth the time. But I'm letting y'all know here, so hopefully y'all found this informative to understand that PvE games can be pay to win. This concept that I've heard on multiple occasions throughout the years, that PvE games somehow cannot be pay to win. So it's like they try to negate all, like anything that people say, oh well, that's pay to win. It's like they pretty much like try to negate it all, as if it's impossible for a PvE game to be pay to win. Like, bro, I don't understand the mental gymnastics going on here. It doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, at any rate, hopefully y'all found this informative, so that way you can stop. Well, hopefully you're not an individual who's making comments like these, but hopefully this will stop people from, at least one or two people, from making such a outlandish statement, because it's ridiculous. And for all those who are doing this, yeah, I need y'all to get some inner peace, bro. Conflict, bro. You're chasing conflict all the time, bro. You need to find some inner peace within yourself, my G. But at any rate, be sure to comment down below, y'all. Hopefully this helped to explain some things for you. Be sure to like, subscribe. See you in the next one. Holla.
Spike to content.